My dear 11th class students, this is your section 4th, or I can say this is your fourth video of the lesson number 7, titled as Education by Swami Vivekananda. This is on page number 43 of your functional English literature reader book. In previous three videos, we learned about how Swami Vivekananda talks about the pain and the pleasure, the outcome of pain and the pleasure, how makes a character of a man, and then we learned about thoughts, how good thoughts and bad thoughts makes the character of a man. And then we talked about the impressions, good or the bad impressions. Then he also talked about how misery plays a role in shaping one's character and how we can judge someone's character in his common actions. Now he talks about habits. Now, coming to the lesson, he says, when a large number of impressions left on the mind come and grow together, they form a habit. So, whatever we think continuously, be it good, be it bad, whatever we think continuously becomes our habit. Whatever we are, how we behave is also the result of our habit. So, our behavior, our personality, whatever we are this time, however we behave, is the result of our habit. So, he says that all the bad habits can be controlled by good habits. So, there is a chance to reform it a bit. So he says, do good, like doing good things, thinking holy thoughts continuously. The good habits will replace the bad habits if we change our behavior, if we start a kind of reformation, if we start doing good, if we start thinking good, if we start thinking holy thoughts continuously, then these things will become a kind of habit. Then the good habits will replace the bad habits, and similarly we will behave then accordingly. So he says that never say about anyone that he she is hopeless. Never say about anyone that you are hopeless. So because he only, the other person whom we are saying that he she is hopeless, he or she only represents a character. A bundle of habits and repeated habits can alone reform his or her character. He says that the cause of all apparent evil is in ourselves. We should not. So, whatever happens, whatever we do, it is because of ourselves. It's not because of somebody else's actions. It's not because of someone else. Whatever happens to us, whatever we do, it's just because we are responsible for it. Whatever we, however we behave, whatever happens with us is just because of our own self. We are responsible ourselves. He says one should not blame any supernatural being for these things. Like we keep blaming what whenever anything bad happens with us, we say that मेरी तो किस्मत ही फूट गई, किस्मत ख़राब थी, गॉड ने मेरे साथ ऐसा किया वैसा किया. So he says the cause of all apparent evil is in ourselves. One should not blame any supernatural being. One should not feel, and more, or one should not feel hopeless, sad, dejected. One should not feel hopeless. One should have faith and should have hope in such situations. And the other thing is that whenever there is something bad happens in someone's life, we feel like we are dependent on others, that we can only escape if someone comes and helps me out. I am very dependent on the other person. I need someone's help. I cannot do it myself. I am very frustrated. I am very depressed. I am in depression. I cannot help out myself, I need someone's help. And so we wait for other person. We feel like the other person is going to help me, the other person is going to uh, he is going to make it better, he is going to help me. But it is not like this. We should not be dependent on others, we should help ourselves. So he says we are like silkworms. We make the thread out of our own substances and spin the cocoon in course of time, or imprison it inside. He says the network of karma around us is all woven by us. So whatever happens with us, it's because of us, and we can help ourselves by our own. We should not be dependent on others, for we should not feel like I need their help. So out of ignorance we think that we are bound, so we weep, we cry, we start shouting. But we must remember that help never comes from outside, that help never comes from outside, rather it comes inside, rather it comes within. Then he talks about himself, that he cried. He talks about his own experience. He says that he cried for years and years, and later the help came. Yes, the help came, but it did not come from outside, but it came from within. And he has to undo the mistakes he had committed himself. He says that he had committed many mistakes in his life. So he is basically sharing his own personal experience. He says that yes, he had done so many mistakes. He says that he had committed many mistakes in his life, and he had to undo it. We must undo our mistakes so as to be able to reform our character. He says about mistakes, he says that our mistakes are always a kind of lesson for us. Our mistakes are always the stepping stone to learning and improvement of the character building. So he says whenever we do some mistake, we learn from it. They are a kind of learning and improvement of the character building. But he further says, do not do any mistake willingly at home. Just you realize that yes, one learns from his or her mistakes. That doesn't mean you do any mistake, you try to do any mistake deliberately, willingly at home. So he added this. He further says not to act like this, not to commit mistake, not to do mistake willingly. Then he talks about ignorance and mistakes that we will come to know in next video. Thank you.